He survived haunted asylums, cursed mansions, and ghost-infested prisons, always with camera in hand and nerves of steel. For nearly 2 decades, Aaron Goodwin was the man behind the lens on Ghost Adventures, documenting the darkest corners of the supernatural world. He faced shadow figures, demonic voices, and the unexplained. But nothing could have prepared him for the real horror that would strike from his own home. Because evil didn't come at night in a whispering voice. It didn't knock over furniture or leave cold spots in the hallway. It married him. In 2022, Aaron Goodwin thought he had found love. By 2024, his wife was secretly writing letters to a convicted triple murderer behind prison walls, plotting Aaron's death in chilling detail. The man who had spent his life chasing ghosts would become the target of a living, breathing conspiracy to murder him, funded with real money, mapped out to the minute, and nearly executed while he slept alone in a hotel room. What drove a woman from fairy tale vows at Disneyland to attempted murder? How did a convicted killer serving life without parole orchestrate a hit from inside prison? And how did Aaron survive a betrayal darker than any haunted location he's ever stepped foot in? Before we dive into one of the most twisted true crime stories of the year, make sure you subscribe to this channel. If you're drawn to real cases packed with suspense, betrayal, and shocking twists, you won't want to miss what we uncover next. Because this isn't just a true crime story. It's a real-life horror movie, where the scariest part isn't what's lurking in the shadows, it's who's lying in bed beside you. The setting was fitting for a fairy tale, Disneyland Haunted Mansion, where the macabre met magic. It was August 2022, and Aaron Goodwin, the beloved cameraman turned paranormal investigator from Ghost Adventures, stood under glowing lanterns and smiling ghosts, exchanging vows with Victoria Goodwin. The ceremony was lavish. The setting was whimsical. The promise was forever. But what began in a land of dreams would turn into an American nightmare. Within 2 years, Aaron would find himself looking across a courtroom at the woman he once believed was his soulmate, accused of plotting his murder in cold blood. What the public didn't see, what the cameras didn't catch, was the unraveling of a life that had already endured so many haunted places. But none had haunted him like this. This isn't just a story of a man almost killed by someone he loved. It's the story of a slow brewing storm, a strange alliance born behind prison walls, and a terrifying way obsession can twist into attempted murder. And it all started with a true crime documentary. Aaron Goodwin was no stranger to darkness, not the metaphorical kind, at least. His work on Ghost Adventures had taken him to abandoned prisons, cursed hotels, and murder sites. He had filmed shadows moving on their own, documented the inexplicable, and stood toe-to-toe with what many believed to be real evil. But real evil doesn't always announce itself with footsteps or whispers. Sometimes it walks into your life smiling, holding your hand, promising eternity. Victoria seemed to understand Aaron's world in a way few others could. They bonded over mystery, art, and a love of the unusual. Their connection appeared effortless. Publicly, they were affectionate, quirky, and intensely close. Privately, however, friction began to grow. No one knew exactly when things started falling apart. But by late 2023, something had changed. Close friends noticed Aaron withdrawing. Victoria was reportedly becoming more volatile, sometimes paranoid, sometimes eerily calm. Rumors of emotional strain circulated, though Aaron himself remained quiet. Professionally, he carried on. Personally, he began living in the shadow of something he couldn't yet define. The strange twist in this story began far from California. In Florida's Summer Correctional Institution, inmate Grant Amato, serving life without parole for the 2019 murders of his parents and brother, sat behind concrete walls. His crime had already chilled America. After stealing over $200,000 from his family to fund an obsession with a Bulgarian cam model, Amato killed his loved ones in cold blood when they confronted him. That story had been immortalized in a documentary called Control plus Alt plus Desire, a true crime expose watched by millions. Among those viewers was Victoria Goodwin. What happened next defied reason. Somehow, somewhere between watching the documentary and writing her first letter, Victoria became enamored with a convicted killer. They began exchanging correspondence, letters that turned from friendly to flirty, and eventually romantic. She described her crumbling marriage to Aaron. Amato responded with sympathy, then intensity. He spoke of freedom, of what could be if Aaron were out of the way. Somewhere in that dark correspondence, a conspiracy was born. The state of Florida would later confirm the existence of these communications, revealing that Amato had smuggled a phone into prison. Using it, he and Victoria had not only stayed in contact, but begun laying out a detailed plan. Murder Aaron during one of his remote filming trips. In October 2024, the plan kicked into motion. Victoria allegedly told Amato everything. Aaron's travel schedule, his hotel location, the precise window of vulnerability during a shoot in California. Text messages obtained by investigators painted a chilling picture. He's asleep right now in the hotel room. I need to know what's going on. Can I get an update? Was it done? The tone was cold. There was no hesitation, no trace of remorse. She spoke like a project manager checking in on a deadline. Victoria had allegedly promised $11,515 to hit, with an initial $2,500 wired. The money trail was real, documented, and devastating. From inside prison, Amato reached out to a third party to execute the murder. But as the conspirators plotted, they forgot one thing. Walls may be concrete in prison, but secrets are not. On March 4th, 2025, a correctional officer at Sumter noticed suspicious activity. After inspecting Amato's contraband phone, they uncovered messages that made even hardened staff recoil. The plot was clear. The instructions were damning. Victoria's intent was unmistakable. Within 48 hours, a team of federal agents and Las Vegas police arrived at Victoria Goodwin's home. March 6, 2025. The knock on Victoria's door was not unexpected, at least not for those who had followed the chilling trajectory of her communications. She opened it calmly, wearing a gray sweatshirt and a stunned expression. She was charged on the spot with solicitation to commit murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Her bail was set at $100,000. Aaron Goodwin, still unaware of the full extent of the plot, was filming when he received a call from authorities. The man who had faced the unexplainable for 2 decades felt something he never had before: paralysis. Betrayal didn't even scratch the surface. It was like hearing I had died in another timeline, he would later say. I was walking around, breathing, but my whole body shut down. The days after the arrest were surreal. Aaron filed for divorce on March 12th, citing irreconcilable differences. He requested no spousal support, no reconciliation. There was only one goal now: distance. Meanwhile, prosecutors built their case with an arsenal of digital messages, recorded calls, bank transfers, and letters. Victoria's defense team initially floated the idea that it had all been fantasy, that she never truly intended to go through with it. But the evidence told a different story. In one message, she wrote, "Aaron's a good man, but he'll never let me go." In another, "I can't live like this anymore. It has to be done." When pressed, she claimed she had been daydreaming and traumatized by her marriage. She denied remembering some of the messages entirely. But intent, as prosecutors pointed out, is not erased by denial. It was baked into every message, every plan, every dollar transferred. This wasn't a fantasy. This was a countdown. June 5th, 2025. The courtroom in Las Vegas was cold, sterile, and overflowing with tension. Aaron sat in the front row, his hands clasped, his jaw tight. He had agreed to give a victim impact statement. As Victoria was led in wearing prison blues, she refused to meet his gaze. Aaron stood. The room fell into a hush. "I brought you into my world. I gave you everything," he began, his voice breaking. "And while I was sleeping in a hotel room, exhausted from doing what I love, you were planning my death." He paused, shaking. "I wasn't just betrayed. I was hunted. Reporters would later describe the moment as one of the most emotional testimonies they'd witnessed. There were no theatrics, just heartbreak. When a judge asked Victoria if she had anything to say before sentencing, she mumbled that she had made a mistake and that she still loved Aaron. The judge was unmoved. Victoria Goodwin was sentenced to 36 to 90 months in prison for conspiracy to commit murder. The courtroom exhaled. Aaron left without speaking to reporters. Today, Aaron continues his work in paranormal investigation. But some say he's different now. More distant, more careful, less trusting. And who could blame him? He has never publicly cursed Victoria's name, never raged against her in interviews. But he has said this: "I used to believe the worst thing in life was what you couldn't see. Spirits, demons. But the real nightmare? It's when you realize the person you loved most wanted you gone." In a world obsessed with true crime, sometimes the stories are too shocking to script. Aaron Goodwin lived through one of those stories. He became the hunted in his own narrative, the target of a plan born from obsession, delusion, and betrayal. It didn't come from a stranger. It didn't come from the paranormal. It came from home. And perhaps that's the most terrifying ghost of all, the one you sleep beside. Aaron Goodwin faced darkness for a living. He chased ghosts, confronted the unknown, and stared into the abyss so the rest of us didn't have to. But the most terrifying threat of all didn't haunt abandoned hospitals or whisper from the other side. It wore a wedding ring. It said, "I love you," and it smiled while planning his murder. Even now, with Victoria Goodwin behind bars and Grant Amato confined to a prison cell, questions remain like echoes in a haunted house, unsettling, unanswered, and chilling to the core. Was this really the first time she thought about killing him? What if the prison hadn't intercepted that phone? And how many more silent plots like this are unfolding right now, between lovers, spouses, even best friends, while no one suspects a thing? How many people are sleeping next to someone who secretly wants them dead? Aaron's story isn't just a cautionary tale. It's a warning. Evil doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it looks like a fairy tale. Sometimes it wears a veil. And sometimes it waits, quietly. If this story chilled you, if you're drawn to the terrifying truth behind headlines and hidden motives, don't forget to subscribe. Because what we uncovered today, it's just the beginning. There are more stories like this out there. More secrets buried beneath smiles. And more lives hanging in the balance. The next one could be even darker.